This is week 8, day 1 for reading. Our essential question is, what is a summary? So in thinking about a summary, if you think about when you see a movie clip for a movie that you want to go see at the theater, they give you like the big main parts of the movie, but they don't tell you everything that happens in the movie. Or if you're reading the back of a book and it tells you some of the parts that are going to happen in the story, but it doesn't tell you all the parts that happen in the story, that's kind of like a summary also. So for this week, we are going to be working on writing summaries for stories where you tell the important ideas about the story, but you don't tell all the ideas of what happened in the story. Okay, so let's look at what it says. What is a summary? Read the story and think about what happens. We're going to read the story called The Cold Day, and then we're going to answer the 2 questions at the bottom. Follow along in your packet, please. We are in the Language Arts Week 8 packet. The cold day. Arliss put on her sweater. She put on thick socks and boots. She wrapped a scarf around her neck. Humming a tune, she zipped up her puffy jacket. Last, she put on gloves and a hat. Arliss opened the front door. The sun was bright, but a cold wind blew. She went outside. She turned around and pulled the door closed. Then she went down the walkway. How would you tell what happens in the story in just 2 sentences? So let's look at it. We want to tell what happened in just 2 sentences. That means we have to cut out some of the information that's not as important and things that were important. So let's start with the first paragraph. And remember, I usually like to number my paragraphs. So this is paragraph 1 up here. And where you see the next indentation, this is paragraph 2. So let's look at paragraph 1 to figure out what happened in the first paragraph. Arliss put on her sweater. She put on thick socks and boots. She wrapped a scarf around her neck. Humming a tune, she zipped up her puffy jacket. Last, she put on gloves and a hat. What is Arliss doing in paragraph 1? She's putting on a sweater. She's putting on socks and boots. Right, she put the scarf around her neck. She puts on her gloves and hat. What is she doing? What sentence, one sentence that can sum up what she's doing? I'm going to put it over here on the outside. That's right, Arliss is getting, this is cutting off a little bit. Arliss is getting dressed. Okay, so we have our first sentence, Arliss is getting dressed. And now let's read paragraph 2 to see what happens here. Arliss opened the front door. The sun was bright, but a cold wind blew. She went outside. She turned around and pulled the door closed. Then she went down the walkway. What's happening in paragraph 2? What's Arliss doing? Let's go back. She opens up the front door. She notices that the sun was bright. There was a cold wind. She steps outside. She turns around. She closes the door. And she walks down the walkway. What can we say that Arliss did in paragraph 2? 1 sentence. That's right. Arliss went outside. So we're going to write these sentences right here, our 2 sentences. The first one is Arliss is getting dressed. Now I'm going to put sentence 2 down here, but you can write it right across the line if you want. Arliss went outside. Okay, so we know what Arliss did in 2 sentences, or what's happening in the story in 2 sentences. Now, question 2 says, now try using 1 sentence to tell what happens in the story. They gave us a little hint. You can use the word and. Remember when we did compound sentences, not compound words. We're going to put these 2 sentences together by using the linking word or the conjunction and. Okay, so I'm going to write Arliss gets dressed. I'm going to alter it a little bit. And what else? I'm not going to write Arliss again because we know we're talking about Arliss. And she goes, I'm thinking went in my head. Ignore the T. It's what happens when you can't decide what word you want to write. She goes outside. Arliss gets dressed and she goes outside. Comma goes here. Okay, so right here we just wrote a really quick summary of the cold day. In the story of the cold day, Arliss gets dressed, she goes outside. That's all that's really happening in this story right there. Let's go to the next page. The main events. As I told you on the previous page, a summary is a short way of telling about a story. A good summary gives the most important events or ideas from the story. So we're going to look at the story again, the cold day, and then we're going to use these little story notes to help us on this side. Let's reread the story first, and then we'll check back over here for this side. The cold day. Oh, and notice they numbered the paragraph just like we did. Arliss put on her sweater. She put on thick socks and boots. She wrapped a scarf around her neck. Humming a tune, she zipped up her puffy jacket. Last, she put on gloves and a hat. Arliss opened the front door. The sun was bright, but a cold wind blew. She went outside, then she turned around and pulled the door closed. Then she went down the walkway. Let's check out the story notes. A short way to tell about all Arliss does in paragraph 1 is to say she gets dressed, and we knew that. She got dressed. The circled words show the shortest way to summarize paragraph 2. She went outside. Even though we have all this other excess information, we know she went outside. Okay? They have underlined some parts in the story. They have up here that Arliss was humming a tune. Down here they said the sun was bright, but a cold wind blew. The question, though, asks, why wouldn't we put the underlying details in the summary of the cold day? Why wouldn't we say Arliss hummed a tune and got dressed? Yeah, we wouldn't put that in because, yes, while she did hum a tune, it's not a very important detail. It's just a teensy-weensy little detail, but mostly we see the majority or the bulk of what she did was put her clothes on, get her coat on, get herself dressed. So we would not put in the humming a tune. What about the sun was bright, but a cold wind blew? Why would we not include that in our summary of the cold day? Yeah, we would not include that because she went outside is what she did. That's the main part of what happened for paragraph 2. The sun was bright, but a cold wind blew is extra details that helps the reader understand what it looks like, what the setting is like, but it's not needed to tell you what is happening. It's not needed to explain that in this part of the story, she's going outside. We could have totally said Arliss opened the front door, she went outside, then she turned around and pulled the door closed, and the story would still have the same meaning. This is just giving you extra information. So why wouldn't you put the underlying details in your summary of the cold day? Let's write it down. We do not need the underlying details to determine or figure out is what it means. To determine the summary or to figure out the summary. It's not going to change the story. So if I go up here to this one and say Arliss put on her sweater, she put on thick socks and boots, she wrapped a scarf around her neck, I could take out humming a tune and skip right to she zipped up her puffy jacket. And it's a detail, but it's not a main idea. It's not a big, important event that's needed. So we do not need the underlying details to determine the summary. Oop, I shouldn't have put my period yet. Cross it out. Because they are not important events. Okay? So you go ahead and finish writing that down, and I will see you tomorrow. We're going to read another story where we're going to do the same thing. We're going to be looking for the important events. And this time, though, we're going to have to figure out what's important. They're not going to give it to us. We're going to have to figure out what's important, what's not important to write the summary. And I will show you how to do that. Talk to you soon tomorrow.